We're here with Dr. Kimberly Pear, Associate Professor, Kent State University, OATA Hall of Fame, Class of 2012. Please tell us how you got interested in athletic training and give us a brief synopsis of your career.
Well, I was first interested in pre-med, went to Miami of Ohio and took pre-med. Had a little bit of a challenge with organic chemistry, so decided that I wanted to kind of blend the medical and the athletics side. Transferred up to Kent State and met John Falstick. Finished my undergraduate career here at Kent State in the early 80s and then went on to graduate school at Western Michigan University. After I graduated Western Michigan, I was employed at Mount Union College, where I served as a clinical instructor and a assistant athletic trainer. Worked there for a while, went out to Crystal Clinic in Montrose, worked in a private clinic there, and then was recruited to start a high school athletic training program at Portage Lakes Career Center in Akron. Started that program with Ernie Rutsky, starting his up at Kent Roosevelt. We were one of the first in the state of Ohio to have those programs, so we're pretty proud of that. And then in about my fourth year there, I was recruited to come to Kent to start their curriculum program for accreditation and have been here since.
Okay. How did you first get involved with the OATA?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. Greg Behrens, who is a past president and OATA Hall of Famer, gave me a call and said, you know, I want you to run for vice president of the OATA. And I told him he was kind of crazy and that I didn't think that I was ready for that. And he encouraged me to put in my application for vice president, and so I was elected vice president, and from there it just snowballed, and the more I got involved, the more enthused I was about being involved with the OATA. And so from that point forward, I've been involved on an ongoing basis and have no regrets. So I owe it all to Greg Behrens, and for many years I thanked him, and many years I punched him for getting me involved. But for the most part, it's been just an amazing journey.
What does it mean to be an athletic trainer to you?
Wow, that's a tough one. To be an athletic trainer, for me, probably because this is my area of expertise and focus here the past decade or so, it really means doing the right thing and to work for the profession and to try to move us forward while preserving the roots that we have. I think that we've been in such a state of change over the past 25 years of my career that I worry that we're losing some of the, I guess, the authentic sides of what athletic training was. I appreciate the fact that we're getting into more diverse settings, but I also think that athletic training is rooted and anchored in that traditional setting. And I think that although I think the system needs changed a bit, I think that we need to really preserve that and as athletic trainers make some of those elements associated with that traditional setting our niche that we really continue to market ourselves as. Because I think without that, I think we do lose that authentic piece of who we are, that athletic trainer by definition. We can't continue to try to be like everybody else. We need to hold on to those roots that made us different and expand them from there.
What is the biggest challenge you've seen or experienced in your career?
Well, I guess because I've been so involved in education for the greater part of my career, I think that educational reform has been one of the greatest challenges. I believe that the move to the degree programs was huge. I think that was good. I came from an internship, so I don't think all internships were bad, but I do think that making that a consistent process was very strong, and I think that was a huge challenge we faced. I think now the discussion about the entry-level masters is another challenge that we'll continue to face, and I do think that it is really the cornerstone for either moving this profession forward or keeping us where we're at. The other piece that I would say is because as president working with so many of the committees and the legislators, this third-party reimbursement and being able to bill for our services and to document our worth, the outcomes piece of it, I think that's our greatest challenge. And unfortunately, we're great record keepers, but I don't think we're really good outcome documenters. And so I think that has been a challenge. I think we're getting a handle on that. I know that Ohio has been a forerunner in a lot of initiatives to do that. So I think we're moving forward on those challenges. And that's one thing that I really respected about OATA members and committee members, is that just because there's a challenge there doesn't mean that we're just going to say it is what it is. I've always seen, under my leadership and others' leaderships, that people just say, well, how do we fix that? How do we change that? And then they start moving forward. And so that's been hugely important, I think, for overcoming these challenges.
Were you an author, creator, or inventor of something? If so, what is it and how did it come about?
Well, I am an author. I really write partially for a living because that's part of my job as a professor. But one of my proudest accomplishments was being the co-author with Gretchen Schlaba out of Northern Illinois University. And we wrote the first textbook on professional ethics and athletic training in 2008. And that was a labor of love. It was truly came about from us sitting at a hotel lobby in Chicago, Illinois, where we said, I think it was a GLADA meeting, and we started talking about how things had changed and some of the issues that we were seeing as program directors. And we said, you know what, we need to start talking about this ethical piece. And so it developed from there, and it was an amazing journey. And yeah, that's probably in my career one of my proudest moments.
What is one quote you are known for or phrase you have repeated throughout your career?
Let's see. In matters of preference, go with the flow, and in matters of principle, stand like a rock. And that is a quote that was in the book that we wrote, and it really does define, I think, your professional character. And basically, I'm a big advocate for a concept called moral courage, meaning if you know it's the right thing to do, you typically have to have the courage to stand up to do that. A lot of people just say, I know what I need to do, but I don't want to, deal with the consequences of doing that. And so that's one that I use quite frequently, and if you ask my students, they would probably say that would be the one.
What are your favorite memories of being involved in the OATA?
There's so many memories. I would say that my most fond memories were just of the friendships, the lifelong friendships that we've built. As we're getting a little older, it's neat to kind of get to know people outside of the association and to just be there for them, and to know that no matter what happens in your life, you've got those friendships and those bonds, and professionally and personally. So those are probably my most wonderful memories of OATA. But I also think that some of the initiatives, some of the big projects that we worked on when I was a leader, or even just representing the OATA on committees, just some of those moments where you feel like you worked, you sacrificed, you did what you needed to do, and there was a positive outcome, and that we in some little way impacted how athletic training would be practiced either in the state or on a national level.
Okay. Please describe a typical day for you when you were at your first job.
My first job was absolute chaos because I took a job where it was a split position at Mount Union College. I was right out of graduate school. There were 3 athletic trainers there at the time, and one resigned the first week of class. So there were then 2. And so we were short-staffed, and I was new, and so I was teaching an overload and working an extra sport because there were so few of us. And so a typical day in my first job would be going to the office. I typically taught 7:45 classes. So I'd get there probably about 6:30 or so. I would teach till about 11, and then I would go change into my athletic training gear and go down to the athletic training room and really take care of the sports healthcare issues until about 6, and then I would go back upstairs and change my clothes into my dress clothes again and teach practicum classes 2 nights a week or cover volleyball games the other 2 nights of the week and then weekends. So yeah, that was kind of a crazy time, crazy 4 years for me. But you know, circumstances were circumstances, so I learned a lot and grew from it.
Do you have any pearls of wisdom for younger members?
Well, since we're locked into a time frame here, I won't go on all my pearls of wisdom, but I think the biggest thing I'd like to tell young people is really to just keep the passion alive and to believe that you can make a difference, and that if you don't choose to act, that this profession is very vulnerable, and that it takes all of the one single voices so that we can move forward, and that everyone needs to be engaged and to love what you do. I think that, you know, the old saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life kind of thing. And I know that sounds kind of corny, but it's so true. I mean, when you lose that passion, you need to get out and you need to do things to preserve that passion. And I can honestly say that in the over 25 years that I've been an athletic trainer, there are very few days when I haven't said, oh man, I love what I'm doing. Sure, there's frustrating days, there's tiring days, there's long hours and all those things, but if you focus on the little things that make a difference and the positive things that happen, you don't get caught up in all that underpaid, overworked kind of mentality, and you see where you're making a change. So I think that would be my biggest pearl of wisdom, is just to say, keep that passion alive however it is, because we can't survive as mediocre professionals. We have to be motivated and driven and just absolutely passionate.